Hello guys, welcome to another episode of King's Launch. I am a new face. I'm sure most of you don't know me. My name is Patience, and on this episode of Converse with Katumbi, we have an amazing topic and an amazing guest for this. So, without further ado, let me introduce the guest of today before introducing the topic. Welcome.
Well, my name is Jackson Manasseh. I'm famously known as Honorable Jackson because of what I normally do every day. I am an archaeologist, an historian, a gender champion, and a counselor as well as a youth advocate.
An historian.
Yes, I love history
You love history.
very much.
You know, I don't get quite the connection there. Ama, you just tell us that you're a jack of all trades because you're saying archaeology, history, and all in all peer counseling.
Yes. You see, history tells us, connects us for the past and what we are today. We can link what was happening and what is happening today. Problems of today can be traced back from the previous lives. Because the aspect of archaeology here now, we talk about the past life of a human being. Yes.
Yes, thank you for that. And it's actually a connection because on today's topic, we are going to tackle on mental health. And you know, obvious mental health, it might not be a new term to us. You know, we have been saying on social media, you're just walking across the street and then you see a very huge banner and then they're saying, take care of your mental health. So I guess it's not a new word, and maybe it might have existed back then in history.
Yes, mental health is a problem or is something that is always living within our lives all the time, whether in the past or the present or even the future. Mental health is part and parcel of our lives.
Yeah. Yes, it is a part of and parcel of our lives.
Yes.
So we've just been saying mental health, mental health, mental health, and maybe there is Gen Alpha who is coming, and then she or he might be hearing, guys, you know, you're Gen Alphas, you're supposed to take care of your mental health, prioritize your mental health, and then they'll be like, you just keep on telling me prioritize your mental health, prioritize your mental health, but what are you telling me to do? What is that mental health that you're telling me to prioritize?
Madam Patience, you see, mental health is a huge topic. If I start defining mental health is psychological, social, and emotional well-being of a person. But this social, emotional, and psychological being of a person is influenced by the way they'll think, the way they will feel, the way they will relate to people, the way they will act. Their decisions are based on their mental health. Mental health can be negative or positive. If something triggers you to react negatively, it's a mental health issue. If it happens that you are reasoning soberly and rightfully, it means your mental health is good. So that's what I can say about this issue of mental health. There is so much that needs to be done when we are talking about mental health. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Jackson. You've told us that it is a very wide topic on mental health. It is actually, it is a wide topic. And it might need us to shoot continuously
Okay.
and discuss it.
Yes.
But on that, can you just tell us some few examples of mental health issues? What are some of the mental health issues that you know most of the time you're told this person is mentally unstable, this person has a problem somewhere? Can you tell us some of the mental health issues that are there?
We have so many mental health issues. And if I must mention a few, we have emotional disorders. This is where we have people having mood swings, people change on how they behave. We have what we call emotional disorders. We have anxiety disorders. We have post-traumatic disorders, PTSD. We have physical disorders. This is originating from what we call eating habits. You see, when you are stressed, you can eat so much, and it ends up causing what we call obesity and other disease disorders. So we have a wide range of mental health issues, but majorly what we normally have is stress disorders, anxiety disorders, emotional disorders, people suffering from emotional neglect, people suffering from early childhood trauma, people suffering from depression out of stress of unemployment, stress of uncertainty of life, especially to young people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a lot we can talk about mental health related issues. Yes.
So you're telling us that some of these causes of mental health are something that sometimes can be controlled.
Yes, sometimes we can control them, and sometimes we are not able to control them. For example, early childhood trauma, you see, this is something that you have no control over, but you can learn on how to manage and live within the conditions that you found yourself in. Others, like traumatic events, those are things that you cannot avoid, but we have others like stress disorders, emotional distress, anxiety. Those ones we can actually regulate on how we operate. For example, worrying too much can cause harm to your health.
Yeah.
Overworking, you will fall into fatigue, and a lack of sleep is also one of the things that will lead us to problems of mental health. So we have those that we can control over, and we have those that already are within us. But there is always options that we can apply for them on how to manage them. For example, we can talk of seeking professional help, and the other means, like if it is about anxiety, depression, we have so much ways that we can handle these things. Yes.
Okay, so you've told us that it is something that can sometimes be controlled, and other times it is impossible to control because you might fall into a situation and it is beyond your control.
Yes.
For example, we might be having some people suffering from childhood trauma, and you find that I myself am a novelist. Like
Yes.
I love reading books. And you might come across a certain book and you find that that person is so much emotionally distressed or mentally unstable. And then you'll find that people usually mention that you have to break out of the shell, get out of your shell. Get out of your shell, get out of your shell. Do you think that it is indeed possible to break out of your shell?
Yes, it is very possible. It all requires two things. One, yourself. Two, the person taking care of you. Yourself, one, you need to accept that it happened. Childhood trauma can be abusive parents, uh, maybe lack of parental care, and so many other reasons that can affect you while you grow as a kid. Number one, you as a person, you need to accept that it happened. You have no control over it. And then now start learning on how you can cope up with your issues. Number two, the second person is someone who's helping you out in managing this early childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Sometimes these people may be understanding the problem. Sometimes they have no idea, and sometimes they cause more harm to these individuals. So it is a two-way a issue that they must work hand in hand. You can't do it alone. You need help. You need to cooperate on how you're being guided on what you shall be doing. This person who's taking care of you should learn the condition, know symptoms, learn on how they can help you cope up with the situation without charging you. For example, how do they learn? One, they should give you space to air out your issues freely. They should always listen to you without judging you. And three, they should not force you to change because it is not your fault. But sometimes these clients, sometimes they tend to take advantage of their issue and now start blaming everybody for whatever the condition they are in. When you blaming, we cannot move. But when you accept your issue and stand to be guided, stand to be taken care of, do this, reduce spending late night hours, have time to sleep, exercise, read a book, play games. Those are part and parcel of things that you can do in the process of doing away with your mental health status. But it is not impossible to overcome, because I've seen people overcoming it, and I've also seen people who are staying within these problems. So it must begin with the person with the mental health issue, but sometimes they don't understand.
Yeah.
Now, when they don't understand, you need to be very careful as a person who is supporting them on how you handle them. Sometimes you can do things that can trigger them, and maybe sometimes your security and the safety is not guaranteed, because these people might react differently, and sometimes they are harmful. They can harm you.
Yeah.
So you need to be extra cautious when handling such people. But it is all possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you're saying that it is all possible.
It
Yes,
is very
it is
possible.
very possible.
Yes.
But at the same time, breaking out of the shell is very possible. But we all know that everything that happens has a consequence.
Yes.
So what are some of the effects that you might get or after throughout the process of breaking out of your shell?
We have two things that always happens, and these are things that impact you as a person and your surrounding environment. For example, we normally talk about go through this process all along, and if it happens that you are going through this process, you are doing things that you're being asked to do, you're actually part of the process.
Yeah.
And it happens that you overcome it. It saves the mental health of you as a person,
Yeah.
and those who are supporting you and those who care about you, because when you're mentally unstable, it affects your friends,
Yeah.
it affects your parents and your loved ones.
Yes.
But now what happens when you don't? One, it leads to poor tax force. For example, if you are working class, you don't concentrate at work, or maybe you don't do anything at all. Three, you probably do dismally in terms of anything you're being asked. Even eating habits, it's affected. You see, mental health is very expensive to deal with. It's very, very expensive to find a counselor, a therapist. Two, if you're being administered for medication, these medicines are very, very expensive. So it cuts across both ways. It affects you as a person and the surrounding, both economically, socially, and even physically as a person. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good take. And moving on from that, we always hear that you find many people saying, I'm so depressed, I'm so depressed, I'm so depressed. And then you might be like, depressed, depressed, depressed. It's like becoming a norm. Everybody you get into social media, you scroll through, suffering from depression. One day this depression will kill me. Depression, 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 depression. What is your take on depression?
You see, depression is as a result of too much fear, too much worry, and too much disappointment. And this depression is really affecting the young generation. And I can tell you why. Because I can see what happens. I personally, I was close to fall into depression. Youths are very much disappointed and frustrated. There is no jobs for them. You find that, for example, as we speak today, we have over 6 million young people qualified to be employed.
But they have
there
no
is
jobs.
no jobs.
Yeah.
There is no any efforts by the government to mitigate and probably give an enabling environment for investors so that jobs can be created.
Yeah.
There is no income generation. Youths are overaging. For example, you'll find a young person wishing that they could have a family. But they won't. Why? Because they cannot be able to sustain these families. For them, they are even suffering themselves alone. So how can they have another person as a family? So the major cause of this depression in this country to the young people is due to lack of employment, living in hopelessness. They are in the survival mode. They can do anything for survival. And when someone is on the survival mode, he or she is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they can even do things that are not, we cannot speak about.
Yeah.
But depression is basically too much stress, too much anxiety. You are unable to mitigate your mind, your thoughts, and most likely you are looking at things from the negative side. Like you feel you don't belong to a given place, you feel you don't matter, you feel there is no need to continue fighting, you feel like there is nothing good can come out of you, you feel like there is nothing good can come out of a society. For example, most youths don't have a hope for this country. You saw the other day Gen Zs going for protest.
Yeah.
Why? And we have never involved them in political affairs. What do you think triggered them? It's because they are tired.
They are worried about
about the future because they can't see anything today. They can't see anything tomorrow or anytime soon because there is nothing going on as a country. The president is busy with other things, and yet we should be talking about mental health as a disaster in Kenya.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yeah,
we have a serious problem on mental health in Kenya, and the government is busy doing other things. I wonder what are the priorities of this country. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. But sometimes, sometimes I tend to think that sometimes this depression that you find most people talking about, I tend to think that it might be a state of the mind. Like just somebody sits down and decides, let me just be depressed.
No. It cannot be someone. You can't decide to be depressed. You don't see it coming. You can't see depression coming. No. Like I said, it's associated with too much worry, too much stress. Then now your body and the mind cannot be able to sustain any further pain. For example, let's say as a student, you need to eat every day.
Yes.
You need to pay your rent. You need to wear your clothes. You need to maybe walk if you are living out of campus. You need to walk or border or whatever means you can use to go to school. And sometimes your budget is not able to sustain you for 3 months in campus. you are not employed, you don't have any side hustle. So every day you go to bed, you're worried about tomorrow. You're worried about the day after tomorrow. When you worry too much, you are unable to be productive.
Yeah.
You see, now you can't even think of anything
Outside.
that can help you. Now you remain vulnerable. And when you remain vulnerable, you are able to be attacked by anything. Even someone shouts at you, you can easily cry. And when you cry, sometimes it is good. Crying is a remedy, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you ooze out what is in deep in the heart. But nobody decide to be depressed. But what we can do, we can control our thoughts by diverting from our worries. For example, if you know that when you go back to your small house, the only thing you can do is probably start worrying about your small house.
I don't have cooking oil.
Yes.
I don't have flour to cook.
Sometimes peer pressure. You're worried about your friends going out. You can't go.
You can't go out.
You're worried about your school fees. You are unable to pay. There's exams ahead. You have not read. You have been hustling. So there is so many combination of these things. But when you want to overcome them, and we can overcome them, we can do a few things. One of it being exercising ourselves. Even 10 minutes of exercise in a day is very healthy for your mental health. There's so many games you can play. There's so many exercises, even walking, jogging, yoga, anything that keeps you entertained. Even going to play pool, swimming, whatever. That is one way. Two, sometimes I tell people, try to practice relaxation. Relaxation means sometimes have time to meditate, reflect, appreciate the good things that you have done in a day. Forget about the things that you have not attained. Three, let us have goals. Set a few things that you need to achieve in a day. For example, tell yourself today, I love to run from here to the other side, probably 2 kilometers. Today, I must go and visit a friend. Those are a few goals that will keep us on toes.
Yeah.
Once you do them, you'll be proud of yourself. We can engage in musical dances.
Yes.
Sometimes music is therapy. But don't listen to the music that is talking about your problems. For example, if you have suicidal thoughts, you can't listen to a sad music. It will actually attract more harm to your thinking. Sometimes I say, if you feel like you have been straining, take a nap. Sleep. We don't have enough sleep. You need to sleep close to 7 to 9 hours a day.
Yes.
It is so good for your mental health. Two, let us connect. You see, when we are depressed, we have issues, we tend to disconnect from people. I'm telling you, staying connected is very, very crucial to our mental health. Because when you have friends, they'll keep you busy. They'll introduce you to new things that probably you were not able to enjoy them before, but now because they are doing it, you're also doing it, and they are keeping your mind engaged. And then probably you seek professional help if need be. But I always say, let's avoid as much as we can diagnosis, because now it looks like you are sick. Yes, let us do it as our last resort. Let us try these others. Yes.
Thank you for that. And I have another question.
Okay.
Is there a difference between anxiety and panic attacks, or do panic attacks come as a result of anxiety?
Yes, there is a difference. Anxiety is a fear. For example, you are about to go to an interview. You are anxious on the type of panel you are going to face, the type of questions you are about to face, the kind of responses you will give. You are anxious. You are afraid. You fear. But panic is a state of worry.
Yeah.
So extreme anxiety leads to panic. Now your mind is dysfunctional. You can't think. You can't move forward. You can't reason. Now it's like your cognitive concentration is not working. Your cognitive function stops. And by the time you realize, your mind is somewhere else. Yes.
And I saw somewhere that sometimes those panic attacks can be like a defense mechanism, like a coping mechanism to something else.
Yes, sometimes panic can cause a lot of harm, and sometimes it can affect you or other people. And sometimes this panic is too much afraid. Sometimes you can hit a wall to overcome it. Sometimes you can fight because you are like, this is the end of my life. You are so much scared. But you see, this person is not in their right mind. That's why I always tell people, always when you are dealing with these issues, please be very careful, because you don't know how these people react and how far they can go when they are afraid, because they are not themselves. So you don't need to provoke them or to scare them too much. Sometimes panic happens to most of us. Even when you are about to give a speech, you may panic and you may not able to proceed. And sometimes if you are not handled, you might actually collapse.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. That's a very, very interesting topic. And moving on, for example, you realize you are living with someone else, and you realize that your roommate or your partner might be having mental health issues. How are you supposed to handle them?
You see, you don't say that your roommate, maybe you realize they have mental health issues. Everybody has a mental health issue. Everybody. It's only
depends.
that it
not
depends to what extent your mental health status requires help. Because if I must remind you again, I say the mental health actually alters how we think, how we feel, how we relate with people, and how we act. So sometimes you'll get your roommate, probably her or his mental health is going towards the negative way. Probably they are not receptive. They don't want other friends of yours to visit you. Sometimes they tend to do weird things. They behave abnormally. Probably they eat too much, or they don't eat at all. Probably they are isolating themselves. They are not doing things they used to do. If you used to go out with them, they are not going. They don't like people around them. They don't like anything. They feel living in a different world. So when you realize that, as a good person, you start studying this person and really get to know what type of mental health issue they have, even before provoking them, so that you can be able to know on how to approach them. Because I say again, we people who want to help, sometimes we provoke these mental health issues in people. So once you realize this, so that you can know how to handle them and how to deal with them. because sometimes you might be helping but destroying a person.
Yeah.
But when you know this is depression, you can easily engage this person, either ask them to accompany you going out for a coffee, for a nature walk, for a swimming. You see, now once you do these things, they'll be receptive from far, even without them realizing. By the end of the day, they'll be in the process of healing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
This surely is a way to handle them. And then, sometimes you might realize this person is mentally unhealthy. So there are some issues that are associated with being mentally unhealthy. Can you touch on some of the issues that mentally unhealthy people might experience in their daily life?
Issues that are experienced by mentally unhealthy people, one is disconnection. They don't want friendships. They don't like anything. They withdraw from the normal routine. Two, their productivity is very low. They might not even produce anything constructive. Their thinking sometimes it is illogic. What they see as right is not right. But you can't tell them that this is not right because they can't buy your idea. These people tend to do things that makes them happy in as much as it affects other people. These people are mostly very rude because they are not themselves. And sometimes their anxiety and worry leads them to be sometimes physically abusive. Yes, those are some of the things that associate with these mentally unhealthy people. They cannot be able to even relate. They are very unfriendly. They have unstable relationships. They can't even keep one.
Yeah.
They cannot even recognize anything good at all. You can do them good, but they don't give you credit. These are some of the things that are associated with these mentally unhealthy persons. Yes.
Okay, before we conclude today's topic, on 10th of this month was Suicide Awareness Day.
Yes.
So can you tell us something about suicide and how to take care of it as we conclude?
On 10th, we did an awareness in Kilifi. I was part of the awareness, and I'm very happy that we tried to move around sensitizing people about these suicidal thoughts. And I wish that as a nation, as a county, we should do this more oftenly, and like waiting for the month of September 10th every year. We should do this more and more and more, because suicide happens every day.
Yeah.
Why do we have to wait until the month of September on 10th?
So that we can do it.
Yes. So the government and the stakeholders, even the private sector, we need to do more sensitizations, because suicide is due to severe depression and disappointments. I've seen serious people falling into depression and actually going further, thinking to end their lives is the last option. Because, for example, there is this serious activist we normally know, Boniface Mwangi.
Yes.
He is known on how he has dedicated his life for this nation, but what does he get in return? Nothing. So too much pain caused him decide to die. I thank God that the friends and the close associates managed to talk to him, and yesterday he wrote a very good note on the social media, and he actually asked us that we should always check on our friends. So for me, I say that as a country, as a county, we need to do more sensitizations. We need to talk about these things. But sadly, we have a very unstable government from the top to the county level, because we are focused on things that are not a priority as a country. We need to secure this generation that is productive, because if we lose this generation, which I can say that 90% of it has lost, because young people are living in hopelessness. They are not hoping for anything good. So they resort into things that are not productive. So my last statement to William Ruto as the president of this nation: let us revisit our programs and our priorities as a country. We are focusing on things that are not our concern right now. For example, the housing levy project.
Yeah.
It's not part of our basic things we need right now as a country. We need to emphasize and put more resources for mental health, so that we can do this more openly. And indeed, we need to work on the youth. They are unemployed. They are not able to make meaningful relationships.
Yes.
They are disappointed by their spouses. They are disappointed by finances. So when you compare all this, these people don't have anything to be proud of, but there is a lot to be proud of themselves.
Yeah.
It's only that they are not well informed. So we need to do more sensitization and tell them, you can do better than this, and you are already better as you are. You need to appreciate yourself, the far you have come. Yes.
Thank you for such an amazing talk. And as you have heard, you need to know your worth, and you know that you are better. You are better. So, as we end this conversation, I want to thank our guest for his presence here.
Thank you so much.
I would like to have another talk with you.
I will always just come here, because I feel like we need to have more and more conversation in the line of mental health.
Yeah. I think we're going to have more and more of this content.
Thank you so much.
So welcome.
Thank you so much.
I feel very much appreciated.
I really appreciate, and see you guys next time. Thank you.
So thank you guys for watching. Please share and comment on what you have gotten from this talk. And let's meet again next week for a more hot and exciting session at Converse with Katumbi. See you then. Bye bye.